Three people, yeah. Professor Annual. Sitten se puhuja saa vähän niin kuin miettiä siinä välissä, että mistä
अच्छा नहीं थोड़ा सा इसको this here this side yeah well all both together you can have this from this side yeah this. You also put your hand like this.
Hello, hello, hello.
And Harry and Kelly, you can do the honors. Here, here already is there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you
So
can put your
just
hand.
hold it together actually.
Together. Acha, separate candles each. अच्छा एक बार साथ जगन्नाथ चंद जी आइए वन दो ये भी आ रहा है नहीं
हाँ जी सर थैंक यू सर
begin and we will not be blessed, you know, we cannot study actually.
We will get success.
Without
We will
our
remain
blessings.
stupid.
So you can start, the
Yeah.
florist has not arrived. Is he on? Good morning.
Good morning.
Is he on?
Can we start? Yeah. I'm very pleased to be the first person to speak in today's workshop, Sustainability Research, Learning by Doing. We welcome you all. Today's program is shaped in a way to attract your interest, so I trust we will be successful. But yes, looking at the participation, we are of course very pleased. Let me share with you that we have put a lot of passion in shaping this conference that would hopefully get us closer to sustainable ideas and development. For this session, our principal sir, Dr. Ravinarayan Kar, will be the moderator for this session. He holds a PhD from the Department of University of Delhi, Business Economics, on mergers and acquisitions. Dr. Kar is also a senior fellow of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India and a recipient of many academic scholarships. He has 4 books, several book chapters, and research papers to his credit. As the head of our institution, he has taken several pioneer academic initiatives and brought about innovations for the welfare of this institution and the surroundings neighborhood. I extend my warm welcome to sir, and may I request Professor Kaiser Kossat.
Kaiser Sosa.
Kaiser Kossat.
You can call Kaiser now. You are familiar now. Thank you.
थैंक यू सर
Namaste.
Turku University of Applied Sciences, Finland. She has been a senior lecturer at Turku University of Applied Sciences since the year 2000, specializing in the tuition of business English, business of Swedish, and intercultural communication. Her other interests and competence areas are applying activity tuition methods such as problem-based learning and flipped learning. I give my heartiest welcome to ma'am. Sorry, my florist is not there. So
Florist has not arrived.
Yeah.
So that will be given later.
Very late. He's late. So very sorry. Now our next speaker is Professor D.
That shows our competency also. We are starting on time. The florist thought that some people will start half an
Yeah,
hour
I
late.
given him time for 8 o'clock and he's late, very late. Very sorry for that. Yeah. Professor D. Jagannathan, our next speaker. He's a former secretary, IQAC. He's a fellow of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India and also the fellow of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. He is a practicing cost accountant and he has a passion for academics and has been closely linked to the education sector for over 45 years in various capacities, including head of the educational institutions with top management responsibilities. As an administrative head of the institute, of Cost Accountants of India and later on of a leading college of the University of Delhi. He has had a wide experience in finalizing contracts involving long periods of execution and substantial capital expenditure. Now may I request Principal Sir to present Professor D. Jagannathan with a memento.
सामने देखो.
I think I must disclose. Should I disclose or not?
Professor Anu. She works as a senior lecturer at Turku School of Economics. She teaches business law. She is a co-leader of Suspect Research Group. Her current research projects look at environmental regulation. She is particularly interested in the multidisciplinary approach to the sustainability. I extend my warm welcome to you, ma'am. I extend my warm welcome to all of you and request to start with the session.
Respected panelists on the dais, starting from Professor D. Jagannathan. What Asu Madam told you, that's a very brief profile of this great man who has been a great educator and a very educational administrator, and who has more than 40 or 45 years experience on this field. But he is very humble and a kind soul who was instantly agreed to our request to be with us today. So a huge round of applause for him. Thank you. And besides that, we have with us all the guests from Finland, are my friends and my dear students also. So today we planned this workshop, Sustainability Research, Learning by Doing. When thinking about this workshop, certain points came to my mind. So that's something, we can give it back to the students so that, in the next level of research, they can think of those issues, how it can be addressed, even the young faculties who are present here. The far and foremost thing in that sense is how sustainability development can be integrated in the curriculum. We don't know much about Finland, how it is being, they are in your curriculum. But in India, what is happening is that you might be knowing that our highest judicial authority is the Supreme Court of India. So after the mandate came from the Supreme Court, so we have implemented one course, that is Environmental Studies, EVS, in all undergraduate programs. But having done that, because of the mandate of the Supreme Court, you have to implement in your syllabi. It has just, it cannot take off from that stage. What I mean to say exactly is that it is there in the syllabus for the sake of doing a course students are doing, but they are not serious enough because it is like a subsidiary paper for them. So the challenges before the instructors or educators like us, how really you can integrate into our syllabi. Secondly, when, another, paradoxical view is that the Supreme Court is saying this to us to implement in our syllabus. If you see the history of India and the background of our civilization or the culture, everything, the tradition, what I call is ETC factor, our ethnic, tradition and cultural factor, it has been strongly interwoven, the sustainability and sustainability development factors in our culture since ancient times. Like we worship trees, like we worship rivers, we worship everything, even we worship stones. But somewhere there is a very big disconnect. How, when, and what happened, even I don't know. That disconnect happened, and this degeneration for respect for these natural resources started, degenerating very, very fast way. Because maybe due to, everybody wants to prosper at the cost of the environment. So there is no concern for that. So these are the some of issues. I thought the panelists are there. They can throw light on this so that we can have a very healthy discussion. Another thing is that recently in this choice-based credit system, which has been operational for the last 2 years, we have some skill courses, skill and application-oriented courses. But there also, I find that there is no courses on sustainable development. So this is another challenge where we can integrate these aspects in our curriculum. So and another aspect from what is my expectation from my friends from Finland is that what are the classroom practices they follow there, how it can be integrated in our, and there are a lot of research scope is also there. You can also throw light on that. So we have with us 3 panelists, starting from Jagannathan, Haley is there, and Anu is there. So each of us can, each of you can have 10 to 15 minutes, then we can have a discussion. Okay, is that fine? Okay, thank you. So starting from Anu, okay.
And this drives us to put the responsibility things in the degree level goals of how we teach the students. First, I want to tell you the history about this accreditation. I don't actually remember the exact years, but we decided that we want to have this global standard for our school, that we want to have this label that we're an accredited business school. And first we decided to go with this European EQUIS accreditation. Then we noticed that this is not good for us. And we changed to this American AACSB, what's it called? Accreditation procedure. And in this system we have the goals on the degree level that every student must learn about responsibility in their business school degree. And this also comes from the United Nations Principles of Responsible Business Education that we also follow. So we have this on our website that we are a business school that follows these principles of the United Nations, that we teach the responsibility to business students. And in this American system, we have to have this degree level measurements of every student learning about these responsibility issues. And in Pori, we do this so that we put the courses for everybody, mandatory courses in the bachelor program for students, so that every marketing, management and accounting student will learn about the issues in the bachelor degree, in a whole course about this topic. And in addition, this is present in many other courses also, these responsibility issues. For example, in marketing, we discuss about the marketing ethics. In management, we talk about employee welfare and discrimination and equal rights of workers. And the whole business law topic actually is about responsibility, because it's about the responsibility towards the environment, towards the employees, contract partners, customers. So in law also we have this responsibility perspective the whole time. And many students have law as their minor topic. So I think we have kind of well covered now in the degree level and in different topics and courses. But I would say the main challenge is that we have discussed this quite a lot in our school, that even though everybody teaches sustainability and responsibility, but then knowing about this is a difference from being committed and having a moral duty and sense of obligation. And it's more difficult to measure if students are really committed to acting ethical in business life, and will they behave ethically after their graduation. So there's knowing about things, deeper level is committing to these things and having a purpose of following the ethical principles, and then actual behavior in real life. And we, for example, in my course on employment law, we have studied the opinions of students through reading the papers. And everybody knows that discrimination is prohibited according to law. So there's no discriminating females or pregnant women or ethnic groups. So you cannot discriminate anybody in recruiting or during the work life. But still, half of the students write that they understand discrimination really well, because from company perspective, it's understandable that companies don't want to hire older people, pregnant people, strange people from strange countries. Probably they don't know Finnish culture that well. So they justify discrimination on many different grounds and explain it like a normal thing. And also, several students are cynical about ever being able to change this world into a one where nobody is discriminated. So we try to discuss with the students so that about how to actually change it. And we say to students, many of them have this cynical, negative perspective that the discrimination can never be abolished. And we say that it's a company level thing, that company values and individual people have to resolve this issue. It will not happen by itself, but one of the students say that the world is moving to a better direction and discrimination is going down all the time. And similarly about environmental issues, some people are overly optimistic and say that things will happen, resolved by themselves, and society is always improving and moving towards better world. But we try to make them see that it's about people's decisions and individual responsibility, and you should take over the responsibility for the better world, not say that it's somebody else's job. So I think this is the main thing about teaching responsibility, to really make the students feel that they are the ones who have to solve the issues, not just know about them. So that's my perspective.
At the outset, I must return my thanks, sincere thanks to my good friend, Dr. Ravi. Someone's loss is someone's gain. He was right. I wanted to take him in one of the universities where I am as an advisor, as possibly the Vice Chancellor, the Dean of Management. But somehow he didn't like my face then.
Oh, no, sir.
So he decided to wait, and Shandal College management picked him up. So it's nice to have young persons. Dr. Ravi is quite young for me. In fact, I was head of the institution, principal of the institution where Mrs. Ravi Ray is still teaching. So I knew him long back through his wife. I praise him because he's one of those persons who keeps thinking to go ahead. The very core in sustainability, the core topic for today, is a continuous process of learning. This urge, this curiosity, this concern is the hub of the sustainability. I belong to that era where sustainability was difficult to spell out also. Not even know, but it was difficult to spell. It was one of the tough spelling words for a student. Where the concept of development at the macro level was a thrust. You know, Kenneth Arrow was the economist, was the main flag bearer for the sustainability. He said economic development. Right. Then, and this was till perhaps late 60s, when post-World War insisted on development, and Japan, you saw, developed tremendously. Then this concept faded away and gave it to some sort of a micro-level concepts, according to me, like, you know, customer satisfaction, perfection, quality, consciousness, and all. But came mid-90s, when the globalization was opened up, sustainability challenged the human face. Would you be able to continue with the concept of globalization 10 years then? I'm talking of 1995. 2005 made it very clear the concept of globalization that had grown over the years is not sustainable. So you need to be conscious of very fact. The concepts like manufacturing went to the peak without any consideration for the environmental issues. Those of you who have visited southern part of USA will know about the havoc that the chemical industry is doing in the environment. So this consciousness has grown so much that the only alternative today for sustainability, the only alternative is unsustainability. Every aspect of our life needs to be within the aspect of sustainability. I'm sad that I'm not that young to study details on the various issues of sustainability. I have already congealed in my mind certain concepts which may not be conformed with the concept of sustainability, which requires a continuous change in the mindset. Sustainability has got to be the hub of government policies. That is one of the thrusts of our Prime Minister, who has tried to make quite an inroad in international politics. The only say that he's saying that if we have to hold together, make a sustainable policies. So the sustainability topic, I had a slight grudge with Dr. Ravi that he had given only 1 hour for the entire session. And 15 minutes for me to speak on such a wide topic.
So you can have the round table next also.
Right? But yet, it points to the very important fact that this is a very striking factor. Coming to higher education, now if I put sustainability with over 45 years of my closeness with education, higher education, undergraduate, postgraduate and professional, I feel ashamed that I have not done anything, any consciousness of the term sustainability in my higher education. I have taught students of commerce, management, accounting. We never thought about sustainability. So in the last 4 or 5 years, I'm reading literature and see what is the great truth in trying to bring out the concept of sustainability. Somewhere without using the word sustainability came across to me when I had the opportunity of doing a course on financial management to students of one of the top business schools in the country. Institute of Ahmedabad, Management at Ahmedabad. So some of the students were finally placed in one of the leading banks. You must be aware there was a bank known as Royal Bank of Scotland. So when I happened to have some contacts in that, those who placed those students, you won't believe it. The manager of the branch told me that I'm surprised that they are students from one of the top institutes. They have no basic understanding of what are the requirements of a customer. You teach something which is far away from the reality. This is where the lacking of sustainability comes. When I heard this, and I'm sure there are many teachers here, at least from the University of Delhi, who reflect that we wonder whether we do teach those aspects of sustainability to the students. So what do I exactly mean as a student of management in the late hours of learning sustainability? Is that are we making the students to whom we are interacting a connect between the subject we are teaching and the society where we are living and those students are going to live further? This would mean, in a very big way, the environmental factor. The reason being, the environmental was never subject of focus in any part of education. This is something strange, that education policies were brought out without taking into account the environment in which you are. My friend, Professor Anu, talked about environmental situations. But the environment to me, as an Indian, as a citizen of such a big country, diverse country, would also mean environment of those people who don't have access to education. Environment would also mean to those students who don't have that infrastructure to sit and discuss like this seminar. Right? So therefore, when we are trying to learn, we are trying to talk about sustainability for whom? This is one of the prime factors, perhaps, which will make a huge difference between a country like Finland and India. Undoubtedly, environment is a very vital factor. Global warming is everyone's factor. In fact, I would like to pose a question to two of the panelists. When you come to global warming, there's a very interesting commercial term called carbon credit. The carbon credit is a commercial term. The credit I gain in my factory by not emitting carbon dioxide to the extent I am allowed to emit, I get a credit in my balance sheet. It is a saleable item. Europe, England is one of the leading countries which purchases. USA is one of the leading countries which purchases carbon credit to exceed the limit given to it. Now, is it a fair environmental policy? I am talking in a country which is leading in discussing on this carbon credit. But as a student of environmental sustainability, is it fair to allow carbon credit as a trading item in a formal societal inter-transactions between the countries? Since your country has gone much ahead in understanding sustainability and environmental sustainability in teaching, would you allow this as a fair way of international trade? In simple terms, it would mean that I don't emit. In many of the factories in India, we can't emit more carbon dioxide because we don't have demand. If we produce excess, we'll run into loss. But yet, because I'm a huge country, I get a limit. Some of the leading companies have got this carbon credit as a part of their asset in the balance sheet. So this is something always keep me wondering. I thought in this forum, I'll ask from the specialists on environmental sustainability. I would like to take a parallel for higher education. As rightly Dr. Ray expressed his anguish as a principal, that despite Supreme Court's verdict, many of the curriculum in India is yet to understand what is sustainability. Whereas today is the time where every syllabi, be it physics, commerce, education, literature, economics, mathematics, should involve these concepts. The students should have three very important C's: concern, curiosity, and criticism. Students must be critical to why I am learning. That will link him directly to the sustainability. He must be curious that the expressions that I am hearing and reading from the books, are they going to sustain the same society for in the future or my future generations? Will it contribute to me and my fellow human beings living well? And the concern that it is not so. When I come to learn that there is a global warming, when I come to know there's a shrinkage of river waters, and expresses a concern. When I come to know there is a poverty exceeding a particular area, then that expresses the concern. So the three C's are the most important aspect of sustainability, which should be brought into higher education. Strictly speaking, I have worked in a commercial world and I have taught only commerce, management, profit making. So till date, I have been leaning only with one thing: how to make profits. So to find a parallel in my education for sustainability, I have to go back to some company. One of the best company that I can cite, those of you in core higher education, please bear me out. I'm trying to give you something as a parallel to your better understanding from my knowledge of corporate world. There's one of the leading companies, Toyota. It has formally introduced 2 decades back the concept of learning by doing, the title of today's topic. It is Toyota which challenged the automobile industry of USA in 1985. All the likes of Chrysler, Ford went out. And till date, they have not been able to challenge Toyota. For the simple reason that they introduced the concept of learning by doing inside their production system. Some of the very interesting topics today which are held very high in management circles. I can talk about few like Kaizen costing. Kaizen in Japan language, in English translation would mean a continuous improvement. It's on the floor production, learning by activities and improving on that. Toyota introduced the concept of zero defects. It is not minimization of your loss, the American concepts. Controlling the cost, controlling the wastage. No. Toyota introduced the concept of learning to have zero wastage. Now, the concept of Kaizen made a worker